Now in Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin holding his annual hours-long news conference. Here's what NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons asked the Russian leader a short time ago.
Mr. President, Keir Simmons from NBC News. Two questions in English, if you don't mind. Sorry, Mr. Peskov.
Pleasure.
The first one is about President-elect Trump. Mr. President, you have failed to reach the objectives of your special military operation. Large numbers of Russians have died, including a general assassinated here in Moscow this week. And the leader of Syria, who you supported, has been overthrown. Mr. President, when you face President-elect Trump, you will be the weaker leader. How do you propose to compromise? What are you going to offer?
You asked what we can offer, or I can offer, to the President-elect Trump when we meet. I do not know when we are going to meet, because he does not speak about that. I haven't spoken to him for more than 4 years now. You said that this conversation will take place where I'll be in a weakened state. Dear colleague, well, I'm saying dear and distinguished colleague, because though despite all persecutions of our media, Russian media, you are allowed to work here freely. Isn't that good already? To you and to the people who pay your salary in the United States, we'd really like for Russia to be in a weakened state. I'm of a different opinion. I think that Russia became much stronger over the past 2 or 3 years. Why? Because we are becoming a truly sovereign country.
Keir Simmons asking the questions in the room of President Putin, who continues to speak as we sit here now. NBC News chief foreign affairs correspondent, host of Andrea Mitchell Reports. The great Andrea Mitchell joins the table. Andrea, so good to see you.
You too.
You've had your fair share of questioning of dictators and authoritarians around the world over the years. What did you see in that exchange? What did you hear from Putin?
Well, first of all, I was so impressed with Keir Simmons. I mean, how cool is he standing up there before the world and in that, with that leader standing right there. But the point is that he is in denial. First of all, the Ukraine war has not gone well for him. He's not going to win the Ukraine war, but he does have a lot of leverage in negotiations. And now he has Donald Trump coming in, who wants an end to the war and says he could end it in 24 hours. So he has that advantage. At the same time, President Biden and his administration, as Secretary of State Blinken will tell you, I'm sure, is surging weapons, munitions, money into Ukraine in these last days before the transition, and trying to set the stage to at least give Zelensky better leverage at the bargaining table. There's going to be a negotiation, that's clear. I was talking to the outgoing Democratic chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, Ben Cardin, yesterday. We're going to play that on our program later today. And he said this war will end and Putin will not win, but there has to be a negotiation. And the Democrats, the strong supporters of Ukraine, as well as the Republicans, accept that reality, and so does Zelensky.
John, it's interesting to hear on that idea that Trump has put forward that he could solve this in 24 hours in that Time Person of the Year interview, him conceding, well, it's a little more difficult than that, perhaps. But clearly, Vladimir Putin has been playing this waiting game, hoping, expecting that Donald Trump would come to power and give him favorable odds, at least, at the negotiating table.
Yeah, as soon as the invasion to Ukraine didn't go as planned. This was supposed to be a couple of days. They were supposed to take Kyiv. He's been mining the clock, and he's trying to wear down European resistance. At this point, they've held together admirably, Andrea, and now waiting for the U.S. presidential election, and now gets a gift of Donald Trump returning to office. We know how much Trump favored him in his first 4 years. I'll be curious as to what you think. If the U.S. does indeed start to withdraw, the pressure on Zelensky to get to that table, will Europe also say, you know what, it's time for this to end? It's time to start talking negotiations?
Up until now, no, but look at what's happening in Europe. Collapse in Germany of the coalition, in France. We're talking about Canada now, Trudeau as well, another key NATO member. Erdogan feeling his oaths because he has so much leverage in Syria. The counterpoint there is that Russia has lost all of its influence and is withdrawing from its bases in Syria and has, collapsed as Iran did there. So there's this trade-off. Russia has, that was a big defeat for Russia. At the same time, Europe is not as big a counterweight. NATO is going to be weaker. Donald Trump is coming in at the best possible time for him to have maximum leverage.
What's the role of China still in Ukraine?
China is supporting Russia and doing it just up against that red line, not giving them weapons per se, but giving them the components for weapons. So it is still, it's certainly helping them. But the big factor now is North Korea. The North Korean troops, they don't seem to be doing that well on the battlefield, but they are cannon fodder. Yeah. So that's an endless supply of troops. And they are also giving very important, they're getting technology for their missiles so that they're better targeted from Russia, but they're giving missiles to Russia, and they've been getting, support from Iran, the drones. But at this point, Iran is also on its back feet. So there's a lot in play.